All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm glad you all were able to join us today. We have a very exciting discussion panel ahead of us today at Code Sandbox with some really nice, interesting guests joining us from all over the world. So let's get started. My name is Philip. I'm a product marketing manager here at Code Sandbox. Really happy to be introducing our panel today for everyone. We have 30 minutes packed with insights, with good discussion, and I'm just really excited to be able to bring some insights from our survey, the State of Code Review, a report that we will be releasing next week. But we will be able to share with you all some early insights, some early views into some findings from the report. And as I mentioned, so today we are joined by a really nice panel of speakers. Hello, everyone. So we have Ioana, David, and Michael, three engineering managers. And I will leave it with you, Ioana. Wish everyone a really nice panel, and catch you on the other side.
Thanks for the intro, Felipe, and I'm definitely super happy to have around here Michael and David, or David, sorry. And for those who want to see a bit more on the background, all of them are engineer manager, as mentioned, and even more, we chose three different domain of activity, or a bit different domain of activity, to really feel how engineer management is done on those sides. Not the same domain, and definitely intriguing to see if the teams are different too, like diversity, number, size, everything that we can discuss for that. But without further ado, we do want to ask the real important questions, and after we tackle some of them, we'll share some of the data that we gather in our survey, which was answered by more than 2,000 people. Let's break the ice. Who wants to start sharing if it's important for them, the code reviews, both for them personally, but also from a team perspective of their team they manage? Let's see. Michael, you want to break the ice with this?
I can go first. I think code reviews are super crucial. I'm working at Klarna, which is quite a big company. I've also volunteered in the past for Mozilla in a purely volunteer position where I've maintained very small projects with a few contributions once and there. So I've seen code review work in different scales. And I don't think I've ever had the case where a code review was not important to be done.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be super honest. I've had cases at Mozilla when I just wanted to fix a quick bug. I have pushed to the main branch. I've not always gone through nice PRs. I'm not doing that at my job. We have protections against that. But yeah, in the end, I think it's super important to have code reviews. We can maintain quality through that. We can also make sure that knowledge is shared. I've had several cases in the past jobs where somebody was not on top of things on how things work. So we introduced certain steps for everyone to participate in code reviews. We didn't have that in place. And that instantly showed in terms of how people actually know what is going on around them. At Klarna, we have quite extensive code review processes in place. So that is super nice to have.
Well, that's a good perspective there from both a company process versus an open source project. And I guess some of the projects within Mozilla were more towards a product like Firefox, which is a big one, so might need more reviews, or again, implying different difficult processes, while others, where you are maintaining a platform for a volunteer program like Mozilla Reps, would mean that you are the leading one, mostly implementing a stream forward solution, and sometimes decided with the team you can skip some of the reviews. We are not encouraging that here, for sure, but we're just considering how different projects have different situations. How is that for you, David?
Yeah, I'm managing two teams at Adverity as I'm an engineering manager, and in both teams, design system team and platform experience team, we see as well code review as one of a very important part of the software development lifecycle. If you think about how a task flows through different states, we ask ourselves, okay, this code review state is a waiting state, right? An engineer is ready with their feature, and then there's this handover process, or there's this interface. Okay, hey, I have to wait for somebody else to pick up the task, and hence we try to decrease the amount of time this task stays in a waiting state, somebody to be ready to be picked up. And the main question that we ask ourselves is, how can we improve the code review experience, right? How can we make pull requests more reviewable, easier? And I think there are two bits that you can somehow tackle this problem. On one hand side, the developer. So what can a developer, what can they do to make the pull request more reviewable? And on the other side, the company, what kind of processes, tools are there to make it an enjoyable experience, such as preview environments, a way how code reviews are being done. And answering the question around what I see, like how do I think about code reviews, it's definitely a perfect tool to do knowledge sharing, right? So we encourage even less experienced engineers to go check out certain pull requests, just get used to how things are being done, trying to understand the problem, and then trying to understand as well the solution that was implemented. Tech leads in our company at Adverity, they do a lot of code reviews as well. This is the way how they can multiply themselves as well, by sharing their knowledge, making good suggestions, and spreading the knowledge like that. So and a fun fact as well, for part of our interview process, when we hire very senior people, we actually ask, or part of the technical exercise is to do a code review to see how people are performing, what's their way of approaching this code review exercise. So
I think for sure it's a really important situation to see them before hiring them. But yeah, in terms of your experience, both as manager, as an individual contributor, I want to tackle the second question. Like, do you feel code reviews have a bad rep? Did you ever encounter a colleague when you were an individual contributor, or one of your team members that had a really bad opinion about doing code reviews?
I think that always happens. I wouldn't say it's a bad rep per se. However, what I regularly can see is that certain people tend to strive for, hey, I want to deliver this task that I'm working on right now, versus directly super happily jumping on code reviews. What I would suggest to always encourage is to make sure that every engineer knows how important pull request reviews are. And then also encourage to basically also say, hey, it's okay to drop your task right now to review the other pull request. This is not some side quest. This will also help you to actually improve your knowledge. I think that's another very important part of code reviews. It also improves your own knowledge on how certain things can be tackled, and challenges you to also find maybe better ways to tackle something. So it's basically a win-win in almost all cases. But yeah, per se, I've been maybe lucky enough to always work with engineers that were always providing quite good code reviews, and usually also in a timely manner.
I agree to Michael. I think sometimes there were situations where a less senior engineer kind of was afraid to challenge a more senior engineer just for the sake of, well, I don't know, I probably don't have the context. So that's definitely something I'm trying to encourage. Ask questions, even if it's just clarifying, asking for context, understanding why certain things were done. And it obviously as well depends on the tooling. I think as engineering organizations, we can do a very good job in providing the perfect setup to make those code reviews not a hassle, but rather an enjoyable experience. Another thing, what we as well discovered was in a distributed world, distributed teams, we try, if we find out that people are communicating on a pull request back and forth for a couple of days, we rather say, okay, let's stay connected after stand-up call, and let's just clarify certain things, resolve open questions within a minute and not within a couple of hours or days. So sometimes we encourage as well, just again, doubling down on the review experience. But yeah, in general, I guess there is a common consensus that code reviews are important and a very good tool, important tool.
I hear a lot of the pains that everyone struggles with, especially the over commenting, and at some point you're like, let's just gather and do it. And I think that's why sometimes the tools, if they bring the collaborative part in the tool, you can literally see where they are commenting, what are they adding. It's easier to go along than to just keep this back and forth. I don't even know, probably we should make a rule, like after 5, 10, 6, I don't know, whatever number of comment, we are like done. We get a room and we discuss this, and we priority number one. Other pains that you mentioned is the seniority in terms of approaching others or challenging others, time. Would you see any other painful points of code review, or pretty much around this organizational level?
Context switching, probably as well. Something. I think there are some people who are very good in context switching. They can just then dive again into their task. Michael, you mentioned as well that it's fine for people to stop what they're currently doing and jump into code review. I think this depends as well how good people are. If they then need 2 hours again to get into their task, I guess this depends on the personality level. And what we did was, or we tried to come up as well with certain, incentives, saying, hey, let's do code reviewing exercise in the morning, right? To be ready for stand-up, to have certain things ready there, and to clarify any open questions. Yeah, so context switching is definitely something. I don't know if you have to check out your branch locally that you're reviewing and trying to understand what's going on there. That's definitely a big hassle, right?
Yeah, context switching, I think it's a big deal, especially because I think also when you recruit and you see everyone saying, oh, I'm so good at multitasking, and after that, I think with time and experience, we start to appreciate focus tasking than multitasking so much. And we can contribute to many lines, code reviews, product discussions. Maybe you have trio things with designers too that you have to lead. So a lot of little things that get a lot of the attention. I'm curious if your organization has QA. These days, it seems that some ditched or are less involved with QA. And if you feel that code review should be something on their side as responsibility, or at least involvement, or is specially done only to developers in your side?
At Klarna, at least in the teams that I work on, we have QA on the engineer's responsibility. We do not have any dedicated QA teams on our side. There might be 1 or 2 teams that work differently, of course, in such a big company. Generally, I'm a very big fan of having engineers also taking over QA responsibilities. Otherwise, as I've seen in the past, you might end up in the situation where half-finished ideas get pushed to QA. Have a look. I don't need to think that much about it before I do something. So basically, when engineers do QA as well, you have to follow on responsibility in one task, and you can do it end to end. That also ties in with writing automated tests, for example. So basically, not only the unit tests, but you also write full-on integration tests that are regularly run.
Yeah, it's like a QA engineer rather being a consultant, right? How to write tests rather than them taking over and actually doing the coding. We have in the design system team, we don't have a dedicated QA person. So it's all done within the team. We have a cross-functional team, but no QA in the design system team. In the platform experience team, we have one dedicated person, but code review is done by engineers only. So there's no involvement from QA in that regards. Yeah.
Oh, and this brings a good point, both with automation and who does reviews, because what I saw in my previous workplace, we did have automation engineers, and their code for automated tests was reviewed by developers. So there, the context switch was so big. I mean, they were developing probably some big features for them, or very narrowed in terms of product feature, future product features, while the automation, I'm not saying is only steps behind, but it's definitely not in the discovery phase. At least I think it's a decided concept that we don't automate literally every single implementation till we have it a bit stable, because we'll be just overworked to redo the test with all the changes. But then when they start working, bring back the developer to review something, that's a really big focus change. But it's different situation. I think most of the times also differs or depends how big the teams are, how many automation engineers you have, if they can share feedback between themselves, the code review, or you literally need a dedicated person from the QA point of view. Yeah.
In a previous company that I worked on, we also worked with hardware. So we had QA engineers also, some of them exclusively focusing on actual hardware touchbot automation. So we basically had a touchbot with an arm. We put our hardware below it with a touch screen, and then we wrote script that pressed on the buttons. That was a dedicated job at that company, but also those were reviewed by engineers just to make sure that we know how our APIs are actually used and what we could make easier for those tests. So it always depends how you want to do it.
Yeah, and also brings consistency to the whole coding spectrum, because it's not separate projects. It's not. It should be consistent in terms of norms and coding standards that the whole company adheres to at the end of the day. But that's cool. I think it's very ingenious how some tests are done in terms of automation, how you just create everything that you need for the product, which is good, which is definitely good. Yeah, so do you have already a measure of effectiveness in the team, or how do you feel that you can cover the coding process review? I was thinking that I'm missing the slides, but it seems they were not added. So yeah, how do you measure the effectiveness of code reviews, and how do you improve that process if you have the process within the company?
Yeah, so we don't have like specific KPIs in place, like, okay, we're tracking this and we want to go down to a specific value. It's rather raising awareness within the team. Hey, okay, those waiting states that I mentioned previously, how can we make this, how can we reduce the time, right? Because everything that's not shipped to the end customer doesn't provide value, and everything in the meantime can, yeah, it's basically lost opportunity costs. So we're making sure that teams are aware that these waiting states are monitored on a frequent basis, like bi-weekly basis, and then finding out as well, again, what's blocking them. Probably there was a dependency on an external team, right? It was not controlled by the team. And so I previously mentioned as well, I see that what the developer can do and what the company can do. We encourage developers to do self-reviews, right? So you open up a pull request and then you comment on specific things that you may think, okay, this probably needs some explanation why this is the case, right? To make people who don't have any context just diving into the pull request and understand, okay, what's going on there, to make the review experience, what I previously mentioned as well, better. Of course, keeping the pull request small, making sure context is shared accordingly, and yeah, then if needed, having as well a quick synth call to clarify specific questions face-to-face virtually. When it comes to process, we encourage to that the software development lifecycle is a team sport, right? So let's think about, if you look at the board, let's work from right to left and not the other way around. So instead of picking up a new task, let's make sure code review is done. And yeah, company side, I think we're already very fortunate to have tools in place like ESLint or Prettier. That wasn't the case 10 years ago. So we don't have discussions around, hey, could you put a space here or there, or we have a coding standard that's, I don't know, please do something about code formatting, and we just make the CI pipeline fail, right? So remove all these type of discussions completely out of the code review process, which ideally makes it as well faster. And yeah, we try as well to provide preview environments to make QA faster, but obviously as well code review. Sometimes we just want to understand what's happening after this change. What does this change introduce? So this is definitely as well helping us to improve this code review state. Yeah.
I really like that you brought up the self-review. That's basically something that I want to encourage as well. I usually do a self-review not only to provide context, but in most cases, I actually find something that I could already do better just by looking a second time at something. So I think that's super valuable.
That's true.
Exactly that. I think, honestly, in one of these discussions with AI helping us become better writing stuff, one of the points was that you literally have to create the code as you are doing it for you, but in like a few weeks or years from now. So when you come back, you have the whole context that's needed first for you. Because if for you doesn't make sense after a few days, for sure it will not help others to review it. And it's exactly what Micah said, like a second pair of eyes is definitely good, but you going a second time over the code and be sure that you included everything, that it's everything as you wanted, is definitely the first step that you can do to help. I mean, there is the saying that you have to sleep on it sometime, on difficult situation or stuff, and sometimes you just come with clear eyes after a long day and like, I don't even make sense with that sentence there. Why am I even saying that? And I want to say, David, that I appreciated a lot when you said that coding is a team exercise. It's a teamwork. Because yes, we have team of solopreneurs that code everything, but at the moment you have somebody else with you, either fully technical engineer or in other role to support you, a second opinion is extremely welcome. I would say it's mandatory, but I don't want to impose my thinking on others, but for sure it will bring up value if you give second eyes to any of your products. That's why we support iteration in terms of agile or even products, ship it, get some feedback, bring it and implement it. And if you can do this before you reach your users, before being in production, it's even better. I mean, it's 10 times better, and for sure that. So yeah, I did brought into attention the AI thingy. What do you think is the impact that the AI brings in terms of code reviews, if any? And also, you can maybe explore a bit how AI felt for you if you're using it, if your team uses it. I'm definitely curious to hear how it goes before or besides the hype that is, of course, all around us.
We've had several brainstormings in the past on what AI could help us with. I think pull request review has come up in every single one of those. There might be things that are super easy, some things that are super hard for AI to do as it is right now. What I'm always very amazed about is how many comments you can have in a thread about how you should name something. I think that is always made fun of, but it comes up every single time again. If that is something that AI could help us out with, I think that would already be super helpful. Then, of course, I can also see things like full-on improvement suggestions. Hey, this is the code. This version could be more efficient. This version could have actually bug detection, fixing bugs for you. If it gets that far, why not?
Yeah.
I'm sometimes a little bit skeptical because of hallucinations.
Yes.
In the end, I would expect engineers to be clever enough to spot those and not just blindly press on a apply this commit button in the pull request, for example. But yeah, there's certain risk to it as well.
Just for the sake of funny facts, we called our AI coding assistant Boxy, and we figured out that there were other named things Boxy. Twitter was very kind to share with us. So even naming is hard. Even naming for AI is hard. So definitely we can do better there with that. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I also think it's rather AI could play a role in assisting code review, not completely overtaking, the duty of engineers. I think I've seen somewhere that AI can do quite a decent job in creating commit messages, or at least helping proposing. So this is taking away certain things, because I think very good commit messages are as well a crucial bit. And I don't know, the times I interacted with ChatGPT, I kind of figured the better I provide context and input, the better the result. So I wonder as well if the input is just code that's being changed, if this is enough. So yeah, I don't know. And I thought about as well, what if most of the code is anyways generated by AI? Think about Copilot. I don't know how much code is already just generated by using the suggestion from AI. How does the code review process look like in that regards? But yeah,
will it be a self-review then?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting area, but I'm not 100% convinced that we can get rid completely of engineers doing this work. It's rather like making it faster, more enjoyable. I guess that's the way to go.
I'm 100% on the same page with you. I don't believe we will replace, and I don't even want to consider a scenario where we replace engineers, to be honest. I think human creativity will be hard to be replacing, even in engineering. But yeah, I mentioned earlier that we do have some results from our survey, and the one that I want to share with you is this one. How many hours per week do you or your team estimate to spend on coding reviews? What would be your answer on this?
I would say it depends.
As a
That's
lot
really
of
management style. Yes. Well, I will probably need to change the display a bit. So yeah, it was consistent, I would say, with expectations. It was funny that some people said zero, but I think it's the reality, of course. And 3 to 5 was the majority spent. So considering a regular week, of course, this is different in different parts, or is diverse. 40 hours, around 5 hours per week with code review. I think it's a productive team exchange. The funny part for me was that we asked this question in both you yourself, how you feel, how many hours you involve, and then second question was how much your team involves. And for me, seeing the discrepancies of a developer sharing knowledge about, or developer, engineer, manager, we had different roles replying to this survey, but them versus taking the team responsibility in terms of saying like my whole team spends this time was very big. And you can see we had 700 almost people replying to 3 to 5 hours, which only 43 in the other sense. So overall, 2,000 something people replied to the question of personal time invested, but I think for the other one was a bit of 200 or 100 and a bit. I felt like people are like definitely more, how to say, not that it says knowledgeable, but dedicated to their own focus, and they don't want to talk in the name of the team, which sometimes might differ in terms of workarounds. What do you believe is the main benefit of doing code reviews? Here, should I probably share with you the options to reply because it was a checkboard, checkboxes. Is these results a surprise for you, or expecting. Improving code quality is first of it, and in second and third place, coming pretty close to each other, is meeting code standards, which we also mentioned in the panel, and also helping less experienced team members. Honestly, this one, it gets very important that people consider helping others, and I think you also mentioned it is challenging sometimes from the seniority point of view to ask for or to impose a code review.
I really like the option of choosing improving customer satisfaction. I think that is a crucial part as well. Nice. It's kind of sad to see that it's only 16%, but we can work on that.
I mean, it's not the last. The last was I don't know any benefits, so could have been worse. But a good point there with the customer. I think if the engineer team has the customer in sight, for sure the product has a bigger rate of success. This was a cute one. I think, how often do you have to look at the PR to review the work that was done? And I think you also mentioned in your answer tangential this part. Oh, I think the slide was missing over there. Yeah, it was the never got the most answers, and think it was a bit funny. That's why I said it was cute. But most of the people said a few times a month / less a few times a week, which means that for me it brought the idea then the code reviews are spread towards the team, and it's not only someone doing all the time code reviews. They also get time to do other activities in the whole team. And I think might be the last. Do you enjoy doing code reviews? And the percentage here, we moved this from individual contributors to tech leads, and the values of their contribution was proportional. No discrepancies there in terms of their individual contribution path or managing role. And I think that's good, because if you change your role and you keep the same happiness in doing code reviews, you can definitely share that towards the team. Do you share that within your team?
I think so. I mean, I hope that we could get
Yes.
more people towards the right side. Okay.
I mean, I think we also, as manager, we need to lead by example, and that's where probably if we have a bad reputation of reviews, for sure will be towards the team. But I trust you. I trust you too. I'm putting my hand in fire that your teams are in good hands. Okay, last question that we're gonna check is if the satisfaction varies by the company size, and I think we also mentioned some of the results being dependable on the size of the company. And here it's a huge chart to see, but people are happy in medium-sized, I would say, companies. If you check the purple one, which is a 50 to 100, and the green one are pretty much on top of it. The dark brown is the smaller one. The purple, I think, is not very visible with my light, just to make sure see it. What I like that is like the 1% is very playable around it, let's call it. It differs a lot in terms of happiness of people. So what do you think this data shows you?
My main question here would be, especially for the last question, how much standardization makes or influences both satisfaction and happiness with code reviews, giving and receiving?
Oh, that's a good point indeed. And for
I
you, David,
hope it does to a certain degree, if you don't do too much, probably.
Yeah, I kind of second this thought, especially if it's like a one. I think we had as well one person companies, right? And then it's interesting to look at how this evolves over, I don't know, bigger companies, right? So yeah, interesting data.
And now we talk about sizes. It's also probably nice to check how the big corporations, big companies work. If they have large teams or more siloed teams with a few engineers, then for sure they were more connected and they do more within the small group code reviews, while larger teams will have a bit less because it's more spread the work. But nevertheless, the full review or the full data on the state of code review will be out next week. We'll share all the questions. You will see also the types of users that replied. We had from individual developers to engineer manager to even C-level people, different technologies, different frameworks that we work, but all the data will be in the review. Let us know to have it. Those who attended the call will have it in their email boxes, but for sure we'll be able to share it larger audiences after all. Thank you so much for being today with me. Thanks so much, Michael. Thanks so much, David. It was an honor to share opinion and ideas as an engineer manager with you and to learn from how you deal with stuff in your company. And definitely looking forward for the next one.
Thanks so much. It was very interesting.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day, everyone. Keep in touch.
Thank you. Bye-bye.